Parental alienation is a serious issue that can have long-lasting impacts on children and families. But how do we know it's happening? Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Jenna Schaefer. I'm a licensed therapist that specializes in relational trauma, narcissistic abuse, and codependency, and I'd like to welcome you to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing early signs of parental alienation. How can we identify when parental alienation is happening to our children so we're able to intervene early on? A few things that I want to quickly clarify before getting into the list. First of all, this video is going to be addressing minor children that share placement with each parent. Parental alienation can look like a lot of things. Sometimes the alienated parent has no custody of the children. Sometimes parental alienation can be happening when parents are still married and living together. Those situations are a little bit different. The signs would be a little bit different than what I'm going to be discussing here in this video. The second thing is I'm not going to be talking about strategies in this video, just signs. I have other videos on strategies on how to start to counteract parental alienation or what you can do to support. And I'll make sure that I do link those videos down below. I have one for minor children and then one for adult children as well. The first sign to notice in the case of a parent alienation is that the child's behavior changes suddenly and rapidly towards the parent as being alienated. This can sometimes seem to happen overnight. They go to mom or dad's house and they come back and they act like a completely different child to you. They may be angry, they may be agitated. But the second part of this is that they can't really vocalize as to why they feel this way. That can be a very big indicator that alienation is happening if they can't tell you why they're angry and agitated. There could be a lot of reasons as to why kids might behave differently towards a parent, feel angry, feel agitated, that are all very valid reasons. However, they can't really quite articulate why they feel this way, like where the sudden shift is coming from. We ask a child in a developmentally appropriate way where these feelings are coming from or what happened. They have a really, really hard time identifying details into what happened. A second sign of parental alienation is when a child uses phrases or words that are beyond their level of age-appropriate vocabulary. I was once working with a mother who had a 4-year-old child that was showing signs of being alienated by her narcissistic ex-husband. And she told me that her 4-year-old child told her that she's a real piece of work. Now, at 4 years old, I highly doubt that that child would understand really what that meant. She obviously had heard it from the alienating parent, the narcissistic parent, and repeated that back to her mom. So if they're using language, vocabulary, things that seem beyond their understanding or comprehension, they're most likely parroting something that the alienating or narcissistic unhealthy parent is saying to them. A third sign of possible parental alienation is that the child has started keeping secrets from you. They may act very ambivalent or very generalized about what they did at the other parent's house when you ask them. They may even say things, oh, daddy told me not to tell you, or mommy told me not to tell you. They withdraw or create distance when you try to ask them specifics about what might happen at the other parent's house, how they're feeling about being there. I don't know, I'm not sure. Can be kind of indicators that this type of a process might be occurring. A fourth sign of possible parental alienation is that the child starts to undermine your authority. They may feel the need to not listen to you, to not obey rules at your house. They may say things like, well, daddy lets me stay up this late, or mommy lets me watch TV for hours a day. If this happens occasionally, it might not necessarily be parental alienation. That can also depend on the age of the child. But if this is a reoccurring thing where you really feel like the child is not listening to you, not respecting household rules or boundaries, it could be combined with other things a possible sign of parental alienation. When this is done in cases of parental alienation, is often the alienating parent that is undermining the authority of the other parent, right? So they might also insist like the rules at that house don't matter. They're getting the message that, my rules, my way. And this is very, very common for narcissistic parents to do, instilling these beliefs in their children that their way is the only way. Sign number 5 of possible parental alienation is idealization of the alienating or narcissistic parent. Depending on the age of this child, this idealization can look different. It can range from things like daddy is the best, I have so much fun at dad's house, or mom's house if it's mom doing it. When kids are a little older, more the preteen, the adolescent years, this can also sound a little snarkier. Well, my mom would be okay with this, or my dad would be okay with this. And also that's kind of combined with the undermining your authority part or sign of parental alienation as well. And of course, this is done by the alienating or narcissistic parent intentionally to put themselves on this perfect little pedestal will you continue to be devalued in terms of your parenting abilities? The sixth sign of possible parental alienation is that children are spying on you and giving information back to the other parents. The eye contact with the other parent can be them finding things out that they otherwise wouldn't have known unless the child gave them that information. When narcissistic parents alienate their kids, they really are trying to enlist them as flying monkeys. And flying monkeys are manipulated to one of their jobs is to spy on the person being victimized. So this is a really similar concept to that, only the narcissist is using their children to do it, which is absolutely awful. In my personal experience, spying most often happens when the alienated parent starts dating again. A lot of times the narcissistic or alienating parent will use the children to get information about any new potential people that you're seeing. So they start questioning on, if you've had anyone over when they have no reason to know or even suspect that you did, that could be a sign that the child is giving the narcissistic parent that information. And the seventh sign, and the last one that I'm going to cover in this video for today, is that the narcissistic or alienating parent is constantly contacting the child when they're in your care. Now, obviously, this isn't a black and white issue. It isn't unheard of for the parent that the child isn't with to call the child and want to FaceTime with their kids while they're gone. I'm talking about an excessive amount of contact when the children is in your care. And this is often done to kind of ruin the other parent's time with the child. So that's why I mention it. If this isn't an excessive amount of communication because they miss their child, the intention behind this communication is to distract the child, to use up all the child's time when they're with the healthy parent. It can also be a way to get information. Again, kind of going back to spying. Oh, what are you doing at dad's house this weekend? What have you been up to? What's going on? Wanting a lot of explicit details about that. I want to close out this video saying parental alienation is absolutely awful. This is probably like the hardest part of having to deal with a narcissistic person that you've been married to or in a relationship with. It's devastating. It's one thing that doesn't have a happy ending, which can be very, very difficult and hard. Again, I'll list the videos below on where I talk about strategies to help with parental alienation. But I will say in this video, one of the best things you can do is if you're noticing these early signs happening, get your kids in therapy right away. Therapy with a therapist that especially has experience in like high conflict divorce, or even if they do list parental alienation as a specialty, can be invaluable. I hope this video was helpful in learning some early signs of parental alienation so you're able to identify it early. Early intervention can make a huge difference with this type of thing. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share this with people that might benefit from it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.